My experience with COVID was December 2019. It was a little before they announced that there was a sickness out in the world. All I can remember was pain.
When I got it again, it lasted longer. I think I was testing positive for like 10 days. I recovered. I started going back to work, but it was hard concentrating. And then a month later, I got another fever. I went to an appointment with my PCP. I started getting this terrible rash all over my body, especially my legs, my arms. Ankles started to swell really bad. It became painful to walk. Oh, and I had blood in my urine too. So
couldn't get out of bed. My chest felt like it was something pressed on it. It was so heavy. And also within my nose and stuff like that. Because normally when I'm sick, I feel like I get like a head cold and that's it. But this time it was like head cold, chest, body soreness, everything, just like I've been hit by a car or something like that.
Right after, like March 2020, they declared like, okay, it's a pandemic, right? I remember I got sick around that time. And I was sure it was COVID. Well, they didn't have tests back then. Like March 2020, they didn't have tests. But I got so sick. I got sick to a point where I couldn't walk. My joints hurt like crazy. I had like a knocking headache. My stomach hurt like crazy. I couldn't walk. I remember I went outside. I like got up the courage to walk outside. I was like, oh God, this is it, huh? This is how I'm gonna die. But I didn't. Obviously, I'm here.
I guess for me, my story with like COVID and the pandemic starts back in 2019 of December. I feel like a lot of folks like got sick around that time and it was like kind of unexplained or like folks didn't have all the information. But for me, I was taking care of my partner at the time. She had got really sick and I just thought it was like maybe a fever or like common cold because it was winter time. But it was actually, I feel like it was like COVID but we didn't have tests, so did we really know? But it really felt like it. So as I was taking care of her, I started getting sick. And I got sick to a point where like I literally couldn't leave the bed. It was like really debilitating. And it was like similar to her, like she literally couldn't leave the bed at all. So we were just like literally stuck in the bed together, which also mapped out the beginning portion of the pandemic for us as well. Cause like I'd never been that sick before, like ever in my life. I've had the flu, I've had strep, but that felt like something totally different.
I ended up taking care of my wife because she had COVID. She caught COVID. So during the time that she caught COVID, I was right there. You know, she couldn't really move, do a lot of stuff. So we went to the hospital. They mistreated her. I took care of her. So I ended up catching COVID by taking care of her. I lost my job. It really didn't bother me as much because at the end of the day, what God got for me is for me. Electronics type of stuff or working on devices or whatever that I needed to do to work on it, I lost my memory on certain stuff. So I would always lock myself out of my devices due to my passwords.
Brain fogs, see? Brain fogs.
Brain fog. I was always tired when everything shut down. I remember being at work and like my team, like me and like my coworkers, we were like advocating for like us to kind of go like away, like because of like everything. We're like, can we at least take a week to kind of like see how everything is going? Because when we first heard about like the pandemic, I remember everyone was kind of like scared, like, oh my God, COVID-19. Like we see like the news and like they're talking about like folks having to like be quarantined in different like countries, and that was a little scary for us. I'm not crying, it's just
it wasn't until I got out of jail till I could research it, how many people died, how many people in the same jail I was in was dying on a daily basis. It was scary knowing that I had to come into it. It's like I was born again and I was behind. Everybody was ahead of me. A lot of places was closed down. Even a place I used to work for was out of business because of COVID. It was hard to find a job. I'd say it took me probably a good month or so to find a job. Even when I did find a job, we couldn't work every day, and we couldn't interact. We had to mask up, and it was a lot more. Even public transportation, you couldn't just hop on the bus no more. You had to have a mask. Walk into places, you had to take a temperature. It was very new for me, stuff that I never thought I would see.
I am a phlebotomist lab assistant. My experience with COVID, thought I had a common cold, but I had it. And I was more concerned of passing it to my kids because I didn't want them to get it. So I had to isolate myself from them. I got through it with the grace of God. But on the other hand, with me having my hospital setting, I seen it on both sides. I've seen patients come in normal, catch it, go through the situations, and some of them pass and some of them, some survive. The patients that came in that had it went from being on oxygen, some of them got incubated. They had a tube down their throats and was on ventilators for long periods of time. And once they came out, then they had to, some of them had to relearn to swallow, relearn to eat, was on oxygen machine, got discharged with that. Some cases were worse than others. Some of them still have lung issues, breathing problems. Some of them still can't taste or smell. To me, it's coming back because you have more cases now coming in with the same symptoms, and they're becoming, with it being flu season right now, so you don't really know if it's flu or the next strand of COVID coming back. So they treat them all different, but you have to be very precautious at the same time. You have to protect yourself from them, so you won't take that illness home to your family.
Well, during the time of COVID, I worked for a nonprofit. We only closed for 1 month, which we closed in March, and we were back in April. At that particular time, we were trying to find homeless people who were transgender and gender nonconforming who were homeless. We were trying to find them places to live that would be, temporarily. There were shelters, but by the state that I live in, it's a lot of homeless people. A lot of them weren't able to get in because you have to be there early, and it was a very trying time and challenging. You didn't know where to turn to because the whole city had shut down, and these people, they had nowhere to go. Transportation was limited, especially for me where I live. Transportation was set down for 6 months. So I went to temporary stay with one of my relatives that lived in the city so I could get back and forth to work since I worked in downtown Atlanta. There were a lot of National Guards around to protect because at that particular time, police was still killing our young black men, and people was breaking in places and robbing in places, and I felt like the world was coming to the end. Mentally, that messed me up, and then being around people and wearing masks. So you didn't know if somebody was going to rob you because you couldn't see them. You could only see their eyes.
During that time, I got into a car accident. And after the car accident, I got sick. And I had the same experience. Couldn't get out the bed, just up. This time it's a little worse. Headaches, body was aching, everything was just all over the place. And then that's when I decided to go get tested because we were able to, and they had those little areas where it was access to getting tested. So got tested, and I was tested positive and had to do what we had to do at the time. And it was scary because I thought I was going to die, honestly. And being with my friends also before that was like scary because you can't be with your friends anymore, especially being sick. Don't want to get nobody sick or anything like that. So it's like hard to do that. But it was like terrible.
Like I literally couldn't leave out of the bed. And I recently got sick like 2 weeks ago, and I was like, is this COVID? I took a test and it was a negative, but I still felt like similar to that feeling, like always constant running nose, respiratory issues. I already have like issues around like my sinuses, so I feel like that pressure kind of like felt more intense.
I was referred to a kidney nephrologist, and what happened was my immune system was attacking the COVID, but then it started attacking my kidneys. And by April, I was in kidney failure. Even during the procedure to extract kidney for a piece of my kidney for a biopsy, I kept getting misgendered. One surgical tech refused to address me in the right gender, and the surgeon doing the procedure switched out the nurses in the middle of the procedure. I was okay with that, but some of the other techs were acting really weird, being very, very curt. One of the techs was aiming her phone at my groin area, like she was trying to take a picture. It was not a good experience. I've slowly been getting back, the kidney therapy. My kidneys have been coming back slowly, but it hasn't been easy. And, sometimes I still have trouble concentrating. I just urge folks, if that ever happens to you in a medical setting, there are people that can help you advocate, because it's completely unacceptable. And I've been engaging with Emory to try to do better.
I had to go to the emergency room. So where I'm from, it's lack of knowledge, lack of understanding, and lack of education due to the fact that I am who I am. They want to address me as my past. That's my past. This is my present. This is my future, to be able to grow into the man that I am today as I'm talking to you. When I got there, they was like, well, he don't have any insurance. The matter of the situation is that I'm sick and I need you to take care of me. Your job is to provide my insurance without a cost or whatever I needed for his medication. So I got mistreated. They was like, well, I can hear the nurses. Someone will sit there and they will laugh, like, oh, that's a shim. Excuse my language. What the hell is a shim? Because at the end of the day, when I look in the mirror, I see a great man. It got to a point where I was like, okay, this is not my battle. But if I don't stand up for me as being a trans man, who gonna stand up for me? But for us as on the medical part, it's like, it's still racism out there, which it shouldn't be, because my money is green the same way as yours.
While I was in jail, my brother he didn't know it was COVID, because we never got, no one in my family got tested because of the whole thing around black people getting tested, but we never got tested. But my brother, he said he was sick. He was sick to the point where he was crying in bed a lot, tired, but we wasn't 100% sure, but we certain that it was that. Well, when I was watching people, when I seen people get sick, like the day before, they didn't have no symptoms. They was happy, laughing, and the next day they were just in bed sweating, cold sweats. It was crazy how fast you can get it. It crept up on you. You could be good 1 second, the next second you can be down bad. But I'm just glad I never caught it, because it was plenty of times where I could have caught it.
I lost friends. I didn't find out till near the end of COVID had it passed, so it was heartbreaking. Didn't get a chance to say goodbye. It's very tragic and sad. I had also chose not to take the vaccine to the end of 2020. So working around a lot of people, I didn't contract COVID per se, but my blood work did show that I had come in contact with someone who had COVID. So in being an essential worker, you didn't have days off. So you had to make your days off, because it was very stressful, but also saddened that you couldn't help these this community that you're a part of that a lot of times is undeserved?
So my reasons for getting vaccinated was because I wanted to go back to work. And in order to work during that time, all essential workers had to be vaccinated. Not just for work was my only purpose. However, I just want to be healthy, and I don't want to be a part of passing the disease entirely. But my initial reasons for getting vaccinated was to be able to go back to work at that time. We definitely take our time now and to consider the fact to sanitize more, to clean more, to be more thorough, to make these appointments, and now getting vaccinated to keep up to date with those vaccinations. So on a positive aspect, being more involved in our personal health care, it definitely stems from that entire global crisis. On a negative note, the only thing negatively I have to say about it, outside of like witnessing loved ones and other people in the world, dying from such a horrible disease, is that I still have a bit of PTSD when it comes to sharing space in confined areas with people. You never know who's vaccinated, who's not, who has the virus and who doesn't. So that's about the only negative thing I have to I ever really think about on that. But I remain positive, knowing that I did my part by being vaccinated. So I just respect other citizens and hope that they would do the same, or at least be healthy.
That was the only time that I think that I've gotten sick from COVID. Every other test that I've taken since then has been negative. I got all my vaccines. I've gotten 4 shots so far. So during COVID, companies were doing all these things where they were like merging, and everybody's trying to nobody knows how the pandemic is going to end or what is going to end. So everybody's doing all this stuff with capitalism and trying to try new things. I landed a job at this financial tech company. It was during a merger. So they hired people during the merger. And as soon as the merger was over, they let us all go. Finding a job is hard enough, but finding a job and keeping one during COVID in that time is really difficult.
Closer to the end of my time in jail and COVID, when I was home, I'll say that my mind changed because I could see more than what I could see behind the wall. I can see sunlight. I can go outside. I can just see different, hug the trees, all type of stuff. My mind changed for the better.
I really want to be intentional with building community, because I feel like that's all we have right now.
It may not have affected me physically, but it has affected me mentally and my environment and the people around me.
Regardless of who you are, what you are, if you need help, don't be afraid to speak up and speak out. Because at the end of the day, someone's mental health can be in a point where they feel like they want to give up. Be that voice that'll help somebody else, regardless if it's just planting a small seed, telling that person, hey, I love you. That's all that really matters.